Spotlight is proudly sponsored by HEC Media.
Today on Spotlight, a look at a landmark ruling that had a lasting impact on American society and civil rights. Plus, a new invention created inside a WashU lab that helps you write custom LED signs. And then there's a rise in homeschooling, inside enrichment classes hoping to add to the experience. But first, a cheer squad whose purpose is to make all students feel valued and celebrated. It's Sunday and you're watching the multiple Emmy Award-winning Spotlight.
Well, when I was in middle school, I would always come to the football games with my friends, and we would see Sparkle performing, and I just always thought, I want to do that when I'm in high school.
I felt like it was like a club like no other. You know, there's so many like sports and like extracurriculars, but there's nothing that's quite like this.
The Sparkle Effect is a special dance team that is sponsored through what's called Generation Spirit. It is a national organization who's owned by Sarah Cronk, and she founded it because she really wanted to foster a sense of having a team and a group where students feel inclusive and not judged by whatever their disabilities are or even their abilities. So the idea is that we have students both with disabilities and without disabilities, and it is just supposed to be a home for all of our students to feel welcomed and just to have that special team bond, a place for people to develop really important relationships.
Sparkle's super inclusive. I feel like that's our main mission, is to promote inclusion throughout the school. So it's really great to see, especially at like football and basketball games, the whole crowd cheering, and just that everybody who wants to be included gets to be included.
You get to make new friends, again, have new opportunities that you may have never tried before.
Our community doesn't expect perfection when they dance. They're just out there and they love seeing them have a good time. And so you can tell that the community here really embraces that.
You're gonna see a huge reaction from the crowd. I mean, that was one thing that shocked me when I first did an ever performance, was the crowd went crazy. To see us on the field right before, hanging out, always talking, spending time with one another. We do a little practice before we actually perform. And then of course when we actually perform, just the biggest smiles on our faces, best energy ever.
Because seeing the crowd sing along, I guess you could say it excites us to do better and better every week.
I definitely do want to participate in something similar in college. It's just been such a great experience.
I think it surprised me how well everyone works together and how much fun that I had. Of course I knew I was gonna have fun, but I was surprised to find out that I'd be super excited to come here every day, and like other clubs, sometimes you're like, oh, I don't want to go to this, but I always want to go to Sparkle.
For more St. Louis stories, subscribe to the HEC YouTube channel. Connect STL from HEC Media. History Spotlight, brought to you by HEC Media and the Missouri Historical Society.
Hello, I'm Dr. Jody Sowell, president of the Missouri Historical Society in St. Louis, and this is History Spotlight. Shelley versus Kraemer is a landmark United States Supreme Court case that held that racially restrictive housing covenants could not be legally enforced. Public historian Cecily Hunter explains the details of the case and how it started in St. Louis.
So at a time when St. Louis had a booming population and essentially people were migrating in, J.D. and Ethel Shelley, their story is one of which is infamous because of its ascension into the Supreme Court. Ethel and J.D. actually moved their children from Mississippi to St. Louis. And like many other families, they wanted to purchase a home. So they were actually shown 4600 Labadie, and they fell in love with the home and eventually put forth an offer. That offer was accepted. The Marcus Improvement Association with Fern as well as Lewis Kraemer pushed back. They became the plaintiffs of that particular case, arguing because of the restrictive covenant that was in place for that home, that therefore Black people could not live in that particular property. what transpires after that is a court case. And so this court case on the circuit court level, they argue that because the restrictive covenant was not actually signed, it shouldn't be in effect, right? And then there was another court case which reversed that one, and that went to the Supreme Court, the Missouri Supreme Court. And then finally, on May 3rd, 1948, it was determined that the restrictive covenant could not be judicially enforced, even though it was considered to be a private contract, because it was in violation of the 14th Amendment. So it's cases like Shelley v. Kraemer, it's cases like Dred and Harriet Scott's Freedom Suit, cases like even Gaines v. Canada, that also set a precedent for civil rights movement and the ways in which Black people were using the court system to advocate for their rights.
Next week on History Spotlight, the day Martin Luther King Jr. gave a speech to over 2,000 people in this very room.
To learn more about the Missouri Historical Society, visit mohistory.org.
HEC Media. Recognized, celebrated, honored time and again for excellence in the industry. HEC Media has been bringing home the hardware for over a decade. Arts and education to author talks, magazine shows and documentaries, individual craft achievements to overall excellence. Find all of the award-winning content at hecmedia.org.
My name is Ken Concho, and I'm an abstracted architectural photographer. Even as a child, I liked taking pictures of buildings. I didn't take pictures of people or landscapes or still lifes or anything like that. I was just drawn by the expressive power of architecture, and I continued to take pictures. And then back in 1994, I bought a special kind of camera that's similar to the one that used by Ansel Adams. It's called a monorail view camera. And I know that it's been a long time since we had film, but my film it's a 4x5 sheet of film that's exposed, which is 13 times larger than what 35 millimeter film was. So it produces a picture that has much higher contrast and tone and depth of field. We're at the Kranzberg Foundation Gallery, and this show is my work that I've been building up for some time. And what I try to do is remove the context of architecture and distill it into nothing but shapes and lines and forms and patterns and textures and tones. So when I make a photograph that I believe is successful, it's one that you don't immediately recognize the building. You're looking more at those other details that I just mentioned. I photographed in St. Louis for quite a long time, and quite frankly, I sort of run out of places to shoot. So since I started, I've shot architecture in 19 cities. What I'd like to do is introduce to people the different intriguing visual possibilities of photographing architecture in an abstract way. So much of my work is about shades and tones and light. The duration is until January 27th. The gallery is open every Saturday from 12 till 4 to view the show.
Supporting and empowering artists. Later on Spotlight.
This ballpoint pen is used to write light-emitting diodes, or LEDs. The pen is just a pen, which is uniquely used for this project. But what's so special is the form of ink that's high-tech. It's being developed inside this Washington University in St. Louis laboratory.
When people think about the light-emitting diodes, they don't think of that as something everyone can make. The cell phone screen, the computer screens, they are all light-emitting diodes. 5-10 years down the road, people will be able to go to any store, buy a pen similar to how they buy the normal pens that they use, and they will be able to write light-emitting devices on all types of objects that they use in daily life. And the pattern that they wrote on those objects then become a display to display the information they want.
That's Tran Wang's vision for LED displays, personalized displays used for many things, starting with handwritten notes. Wang is an associate professor of electrical and systems engineering at the McKelvey School of Engineering. He says the research in his lab will make it possible for anyone to make their own light-emitting devices on any surface, including the stretchable rubber glove.
The reason you are seeing the device being translucent is because it's unfinished. To make the LED, we have to go through all the processes. In the end, when you are done, the color, those are the ones that you will be seeing. The translucent ink is only the starting point. If you think about LEDs, the iPhone screen, right? They are built on glass or on plastic films. And we have shown that we can make the LEDs on any type of substrate you can come up with in daily life.
So, just how is this possible? First author, Junei Zhao, is a doctoral candidate in Wang's lab. He formulated the material into a solution, which becomes the ink. The material is layered, stretchable, and flexible.
Just 4 layers, 4 different materials. The most bottom layer, named PWPSS, is a polymer, conductive polymer, so it can be used as the bottom electrode. On top of it is the most important layer, light emitting layer, named the perovskite, from blue to green to red. And on top of the light emitting layer, we use another buffer layer. So buffer layer, the role is protection. And then on top of this buffer layer, we use another electrode. It is silver, it's metal, it's conductive, but it's just in the form of nanoscale wires. So wires entangled just form a network. It's stretchable, it's flexible.
The flexible and stretchable optoelectronic devices are good for use on paper, textiles, rubber, plastics, and 3D objects. You can find a surface, even a portable one, to draw, then fill for the creation of a display of any size and shape, used for apps and watching videos.
I have to admit, there will be a trade-off for sure. Due to the low-cost way of making the displays, of course, the resolution will not be as good. Will nowhere be close what you can get from a commercial screen. But not all applications require very high resolution, high pixel count.
When the material for the ink is completed, a power source would be needed.
A low-cost display, so if there is a battery inside, it can be powered. Or if there's a solar cell, for example, printed or attached, that can provide power to the device. It can light up.
There are commercial, everyday uses, such as package delivery.
Write a label on top, and that label actually works as a display. For this type of display on smart packaging, and after that, the ink can be washed off and can be reused for the next round of shipping applications.
And there are biomedical applications.
For the healthcare applications, we're not selling the pen. Actually, we're selling this idea how to quickly wrap up a functional device.
The field has a growing demand or interest in developing personalized wearable devices to track the health.
For example, a smart bandage.
Personalized health monitoring applications.
And the smart bandage technology can also be used to help heal wounds.
Illuminating the wound with infrared light can actually speed up the healing process.
And there are some cool applications for education.
Science popularization helps to pique the interest, especially in the young kids.
For original programming and award-winning content, explore hecmedia.org. Find all of your favorite genres, including the arts and sciences. Go in-depth with the latest research. Get insight into new technologies. Learn about breakthrough discoveries. Find it all in one place. Explore hecmedia.org.
The rise in homeschooling seems to be here to stay. In 2019, the year preceding the COVID outbreak, there were 2.5 million students homeschooled. By the close of the 2022-2023 school year, that number has grown to 3.62 million, according to the U.S. Census Bureau's Household Pulse Survey.
I was not a homeschool person. When I grew up, I went to all different kinds of schools, like Christian schools and public schools, but I never was homeschooled. My husband decided, let's try this with my son when he was in kindergarten, and we tried the homeschool route and loved it. I feel like all the time that I had with my children homeschooling is just something priceless.
According to the National Center for Education Statistics, academic quality, flexibility in education, and family time are top concerns. And the results are in. According to the National Home Education Research Institute, homeschoolers typically score 15 to 25 percentile points above public school students on standardized academic achievement tests.
The pros of homeschooling: you can know where your student is at when they're reading, where they're at in spelling and math. There's, kind of like, you can almost divide subjects into two areas. One area is almost really very specific to where kids are, but in a big class, all the kids kind of have to learn at the same place. Or you can break them into little groups. But there might be places that are always a little bit ahead or behind. And that's not a bad thing, but when you're doing homeschooling, you can kind of plan your lessons, or if you have lessons coming home from a teacher, to know, I need to spend more time on this. And also the relationship. When I, think about different school options, it's just hard to think that they'd get on a bus at 7:30 in the morning and then I wouldn't see them till 3:30 in the afternoon for 5 days. And so we get to enjoy a lot of life together at home.
His reasoning for choosing homeschooling was just that before I had my son, I was a preschool teacher, and so he knew that I could do it, and he just didn't feel real comfortable in the public school where we were at, and so he just decided, let's try this and see if it works out, and then we'll take it year by year. Part of our concerns with the public school that we were living near was that we just looked up the ratings, and it was just not where we were living what we thought we would want our kids to do. And we just thought that one-on-one would be something that would be priceless and able to really work at their own pace and at their own level. Come to find out, that worked. Both of my kids had really high GPAs and really learned to study well through the homeschooling.
But where do homeschool families go when they are seeking enrichment, challenging coursework that may be outside a parent's scope of knowledge, or simply community with other like-minded families? DaySpring Arts and Education bridges the gap.
Our academy at DaySpring is a really unique hybrid model. Students get to go to class in a classroom 2 to 3 days a week, but then on the other days, they get to partner with their parents to kind of continue their education. And so while we do provide all the curriculum needed for 5-day-a-week schooling, some of that is taught by the parent at home. And so it's a really nice blend.
Since I am on staff here, my weeks are a little bit different than most people. I am able to bring my daughter up to work with me and homeschool her next to me when I'm at the front desk. And then on Friday when she comes, she's here from 9 o'clock till 3:45 and goes to different class. She goes to art classes, circus classes, and each year it's a little different for her schedule depending on what she chooses to take. She's able to go ahead and go online and look and see exactly what the teachers ask her to do and what they need to be done at home. And so she's able to work that out herself, and I don't have to do very much for her. And it really makes her independent so that when she does go to college, she's prepared for that time to do the independent work.
DaySpring students, staff, and families are a tight-knit community.
Homeschooling by yourself could feel isolating. When you're part of DaySpring, you have other parents who are, kind of in the same place you are, and so you can talk about any struggles or anything that's going well.
Each one of the students here cares about the next student. You can see when you have a younger student and an older student, they can come together and just have a mentor-mentee relationship. And it's just so fun to see.
DaySpring's community is so welcoming. It is a great environment for everyone to join in and connect together, all kind of bonded with the arts and with education.
I think that educating our children can sometimes be a complex decision for some families. I'm happy that there's a lot of variety out there, and I think a hybrid school is sort of this perfect in-between type of school for those people who are wanting to spend more time with their kids and be a little more involved in their education.
HEC has been bringing you positive programming and award-winning content for decades. Arts, education, culture, in-depth discussions, films, and more. All in one place, hecmedia.org.
After I got out of the Navy, I went to college for biology, and I picked up woodcutting, and I just loved the process of it and just like how meditative it is. The work that I plan on doing and completing under the Kranzberg Residency, I would call it a celebration and an exploration of diversity in green spaces.
The Kranzberg Arts Foundation's residency program intentionally selects musicians, writers, and visual artists like printmaker Norman Spencer, whose work will have an engaging and lasting impact on the St. Louis community.
I love hiking and kayaking and just exploring green spaces, and I didn't get into that until I was an adult. My family wasn't really into it, and when I asked them, they basically said that it wasn't a place for Black people to be, natural spaces. There's such a negative history, a negative connotation associated with green spaces in our community, and I think it's important to show that that's not, that the past isn't necessarily the present, that it is a place for everyone. I hope that it will get people out into nature. At the bare minimum, I hope that it will start a conversation.
Spencer is one of 11 artists in residence chosen for the 18-month-long program that provides recipients with a variety of resources, while simultaneously building the arts economy in St. Louis.
With the residency program, we're giving infrastructure to artists so they can take an extended period of time to really realize their artistic works and bring them to fruition.
We really try to stay out of their way. We help give them feedback and a certain level of professional development and mentorship, but these are prolific artists in their own right, and really what they need is the freedom to do something, the permission to do it.
For 2021 resident Catherine Dudley Rose, the opportunity couldn't have come at a better time. After gaining some hard-earned traction in the film industry, COVID threatened to stall her momentum.
I had just finished my first feature film that had been on the festival circuit, and then I had a theatrical release at the end of 2019. Just sort of trying to get the next projects going was a little scary and sad in many ways, right, in 2020. So I'm so thankful for the residency. I mean, it really, really did provide a lifeline for me. I mean, things were very, very tough, and I feel like being able to have this place to come to that was, safe and arts-based is just, it's invaluable. I was really excited about the opportunity to also experiment. I felt like there was a little bit of a support system underneath that for me to be able to get innovative.
What we have is fertile soil, and we have this kind of creative sandbox, and you put collaboration, creativity, cross-sector in the same space, innovation happens.
Part of fostering a healthy, productive environment for the residents is encouraging them to create not just from their pain, but also from their joy.
We in society sometimes celebrate the crazed artist, right? You can tell that beautiful artwork came out of agony and pain, and it's true. Sometimes we create our best things at our lowest moments, but everything doesn't have to be a deficit mindset. So I just think that as we have more conversations about art, encouraging artists to feel whole and healthy and creating from a place of good is just as important as an artist relieving the stress of creating from the negative, and that's a beautiful balance to find.
For many artists, navigating the business side of things can be their biggest challenge, a struggle that residency program director Larry Morris understands very well.
I continue to pursue my passion as a musician with a hip-hop band, Ilphonics. We basically have been together for 21 years. We've got to travel. We work with world-class producers. And the beauty of being around the arts and people who are artistic, who've made careers of it, is they kind of took me under their wing and showed me the elements.
Singer-songwriter Drea Vocals has been performing for years, but is hoping her time as a resident will provide her with the guidance to take her work to the next level.
It's so hard to try to navigate a career by yourself. I think mentorship is important when you want to be educated in your craft and not just do it just from the pure talent.
But the reality is, you have to see yourself as a brand and a business. And you have to treat your art the same way. Knowing how to go in a room and discuss the deals, making the right connections and networking with the right people.
What we want to see is artists control the economy around their art. We want to see them have upward mobility and generational upward mobility. And it's not just enough to put someone on a stage or put someone on a wall, right? You actually have to help them build a career.
I'm really excited to participate in this residency because I feel it will give me the structure and the audience that I've been looking for. Having access to little rehearsal spaces, infrastructure, shops, that is huge to take what I do from page to a stage. But then after once it's on stage, having audiences, marketing teams, having that support to get the voice out there is also huge, because if you build it and they don't know that you're there, they won't come.
After working for years in New York and LA, writer, actor, and producer Cameron Dramar decided to return home to St. Louis with Soul Siren Playhouse, his theater company that strives to heighten social consciousness while inspiring and entertaining.
All the artists that come into our spaces, they're just driven to do something for the community. And in our scoring rubric, St. Louis connectedness and community benefits are such a big part of it. It's weighted that way. So you see a lot of artists that not just want to insulate themselves and work, they actually want to collaborate and connect and contribute.
St. Louis means so much to me. I'm born and raised here, and it has changed a lot. I think that what's most important for St. Louis is having positive energy and positive people to be a beacon of light. I really do believe that what we see and what we are around affects us and affects how we create. It affects the lives that we create for ourselves. I want to be a part of the light that shines here in St. Louis and from St. Louis.
Commitment to St. Louis is huge for us. We're really big on retaining our artists. We want them to stay here. We want you to feel that this is home. We want people to see the vision and the possibilities here.
The community here is absolutely astounding. So much support, so much love, so much camaraderie, and that is ultimately why I moved back.
St. Louis has cultural value beyond belief, and the crazy thing is we're just getting started.
Next week, pastors who decided to build up their neighborhood to create a better community. Plus, an exhibit with work from an artist that includes things he created in kindergarten. Thanks for watching Spotlight. Join us next Sunday at 9:30 a.m. on KPLR 11.